There are lots of questions, aren't there, that have been brought up by that announcement from the palace, not least the decision not to name the sort of cancer that he has.
Yes, I think, in all honesty, that's entirely understandable. We often get very precious little information about royal health issues because they put such a wall around health from the point of view of privacy. But they have given us, in some ways, quite a lot of detail here. We know that he's beginning regular treatment. We've already got kind of doctors speculating about what that might mean. So I think there has been a degree of candidness from the palace, which I think is an effort to kind of show the public that Charles is not panicking here. But of course, he does still have some belief in privacy, and you know, these kind of absolute technical aspects of the medical diagnosis are probably for him and his family alone.
Talking about his sort of mentality and how he's coping with this, in the statement that we did receive from the palace, we learned they said he remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. He really is someone that does see this as his duty, and his character is pretty robust and resilient.
Absolutely. And, you know, people would forgive him for feeling a little bit like, could he not just catch a break? Because he's had a very difficult few years. He had his father die, he had his mother die, and he's had his family torn to pieces. His son firing numerous allegations at the monarchy, and also his brother getting into a very sticky situation around Epstein. So you really would forgive Charles for thinking he just needed to begin his reign with a degree of peace for a few years. But instead, he's had this, what to many people would be a crisis to deal with. He does seem to be staying in good spirits, as he was when it was simply a procedure on an enlarged prostate. And I think people will take a huge amount of comfort in that. It really shows the public that he's not assuming the worst, and that allows us to not assume the worst either.
You made a reference to Prince Harry there, and we understand that he will be flying over for a rapprochement of sorts. I mean, obviously, this suggests it's serious news, but by the same token, families come together in times of crisis, don't they?
Families do come together, and I think this will give Harry some perspective on the last few years. Obviously, for both Harry and William, as much as Charles is staying positive and we're not assuming the worst and we're not going to take too pessimistic an approach to this, you know, Harry and William are bound together by the shared loss of their mother when they were 15 and 12, and they would be inhuman to not remember that incredibly traumatic moment for them. Now, that doesn't mean this is what's happening with Charles. I'm sure and sincerely hope, makes a full recovery. But they will, you know, the thought will have crossed their minds. William's going to have to step up to the plate. Harry's coming to Britain, and he's going to have to decide whether he sees William. We know, obviously, he's going to see Charles. I think that is hugely positive. I think it will warm relations between them. And in all honesty, I think the king, what he has really wanted from the moment this whole rift began until now, is for the rift to just go away and for positive relations to resume. So I think if Harry comes with a slightly different focus and a slightly different attitude and mentality, I think Charles will be very receptive to repairing that relationship.
In the meantime, we've got sort of a different shared responsibilities while the king won't be taking up those duties. We've seen Queen Camilla in a very different light just in the last few weeks as the king was receiving treatment for his prostate. William presumably will be stepping up, having just had a period where he was spending time with his family because of his wife's treatment and recovery. The structure of the royal family is going to look different for the next few weeks, at least.
It's going to look very different. I mean, we thought that Kate was the more serious case, and now, obviously, we have had this bombshell. So for William, it's, you know, he's in the same position. He thought that his focus was going to be Kate, the kids. You know, that was the most serious thing going on, and now all of a sudden he's had this. So we are expecting him back at work tomorrow. He's got two engagements. One is an investiture, and the other he's got an evening do. He's got a dinner for a charity, the London Ambulance Service. It's obviously very close to his heart. He was a responder when he was an ambulance pilot himself. So yes, he's going to be back on the royal circuit and showing that the royal family continues.